she says
Perfect.
is, oh. I would be screaming like a crazy white lady.
Okay, first of all, if that happened, your house would be shattered. You'd be dead.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's not get tied up in the details.
Maybe physics work different in Oz. You don't know.
Maybe.
Life is different.
Maybe some clouds brought it down safely.
Just gently.
Squish the witch a little bit.
Slowly squished her. She was like, you're squishing me. Excuse me, I was here. Yeah.
But even watching it only in black and white for all those years, the storyline was so fantastical. And again, like so many stories, good versus evil, and good wins in the end.
Girl, but do you know why I think you liked it so much? It's the same reason that I did. Is this girl went from BFE, middle of nowhere, gray-ass Kansas, on a fucking farm, to the middle of, like, the queerest, coolest, most colorful place ever. Like, why couldn't that happen to us? Do you know what I mean? Why couldn't a Twister come knock my house out and I can go to Oz? But no, that didn't get to happen to me, only to Dorothy Gale. What?
I know. Well, the other thing that always puzzled me is when it gets to the part where she wants to go home, I'm like, why?
Girl, por qué? I don't get it.
I mean, the second witch is gone. You're safe now. Stay here.
Girl.
Keep the red shoes.
You have good friends. Oh, it's cute.
I know.
You can walk up to a tree and find a lunch pail or some shit. I'm like,
I know.
I'm sorry, what?
No, why would you go back to Kansas?
No, thanks.
Where y'all are struggling to live,
Yep.
and you live in Kansas.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Girl, it can be the best place in Kansas, and guess what?
It's
still Kansas.
Right. So, I mean, and if anybody's listening from Kansas, first of all, woohoo for us if someone in Kansas is listening. And I apologize to trashing your state.
No, I don't. Leave. What you doing? Okay, but Wizard of Oz for me was one of my favorite movies growing up, as you know. Again, very young age, started watching it. And as a child, I did what a lot of kids do, and I'd watch it on a loop, because it was just so good. But one of my main takeaways was she's in the country, and now she's in some, like, magical, colorful place with witchcraft and wizardry and cities made of emerald. I'm sorry, I want to go there. But the Wicked Witch scared me when she would, like, poof into Munchkin Land. No, girl, I was, like, under a blanket almost crying because it scared me so very much. But I did think that the Wicked Witch reminded me of one of my mother's sisters, so I just thought it was my aunt the entire time, which is distressing. But yeah, Wizard of Oz for me, even into my 20s would be like, oh, my favorite movie? Yeah, it's Wizard of Oz, obviously. Is it not yours?
Hands down.
I don't understand why.
Well, and it's funny because my daughter will ask me on the regular, she'll be like, because do you remember for a while her favorite thing was to ask people, what is your favorite movie, song, whatever. And it's like, I can't pick.
Right.
Especially if you say, what is your favorite song or who's your favorite artist?
Yes.
I'm sorry. You'd have to narrow it down to
genre?
Who in this genre is your favorite today.
Yes.
Exactly. Which is one of the things when I listen to Jinx Monsoon's podcast, one of the questions she asks everybody, one of her compulsory questions at the end is, who is your celebrity crush today? And I figure if you could ask me about movies, what is your favorite movie today? You would still probably have to break it down by genre, but if I had to pick one, it's probably going to be The Wizard of Oz.
It's probably the movie I've seen the most.
Yeah. For me, it's a tie, probably, with Rocky Horror, because I went and saw that in the theater somewhere between 25 and 30 times.
So just a couple.
A couple times. And did all of the things, had all the props. I was trying to explain to the children the other night why, what happened in this. And here's where you get out your squirt gun, and here's where you put the newspaper over your head, and here's where
toast.
Throw the rice and the toast, and they're like, why?
It seems disgusting.
Right. And Parker was wait a minute, you squirt guns in the theater? And I was like, yes, because you're simulating rain.
Yeah.
What? Why would...
Girl, it was a stage play. Why are you ruining it? You're an 11-year-old child.
This is my youth.
I know.
But yes, anyway. So I think that it was... So when DVDs came out, I mean, obviously, as soon as VHS came out, I had The Wizard of Oz on VHS. And then when DVDs and Blu-rays, I bought the box set with all of the extras and the documentaries and the this and that and the other.
They've made a 90-minute movie 6 hours long.
Yeah, right?
it.
But it was an important part of my childhood.
We're also like, because you own like the compendium of all the books, so you read most of them, all of them, and I read some of them. Interesting, very great. But then also Return to Oz, which people don't talk about a lot, with Fairuza Balk.
Fairuza, she's phenomenal.
Yeah, and as a child though, horror movie. That movie to me as a child was so good, but also it was a horror movie. Mind you, I was very sensitive, but it was so scary to me. I'm sorry, it starts with Dorothy getting electroshock therapy. I'm sorry, what? Like, that is...
Well, for me, the terrifying part of that is that they were putting her into a mental institution under lockdown, which I don't know why has been a lifelong fear of mine.
Oh, right. People are like, no, you're crazy. And you're like, I'm not. No, but you are.
Yeah, but you are, and you're the only one who thinks you're not, so
exactly.
we're locking you up. Well, they lock her up, and yeah, if you haven't seen Return to Oz...
Do it.
So phenomenal. One of the things I love about it is, Auntie M was like, you keep thinking this Oz place is real. It's not real. Mm-hmm. Well, it is real. Yeah. And she knows it's real. And she goes back and helps her friends and saves Oz yet again.
Yeah, one more time, girl.
Because...
Bring that beat back.
White savior is a real thing.
And she has to be like 8 or something. She was a child.
Right, she's a little tiny child. Go Fairuza, you worked that. But yeah... I mean, honestly, the princess who exchanges heads, because she's like, I like this head today, and she puts on a new head. There was some pretty scary shit up in that movie. But yeah, what child was this made for? But I loved it. I watched it as an adult. I watched it with you the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this movie is crazy, and it's phenomenal.
It was so good. And I like that it seemed rustic. You know what I mean? It seemed just a little more authentic than the Wizard of Oz.
It did. It seemed a lot kind of dirtier and dingier, and like... Things were kind of busted and broke down.
Yeah.
But when she got there, they were supposed to be busted and broke down because, some not so great people had taken over and some nonsense had happened.
Yes.
Right. That takes me to some other movies. I think about some of the movies, especially that you watched as a child. Mm-hmm. There were movies that I loved that you probably shouldn't have watched as a child. And the one that, of course, comes to my head always is Lust in the Dust.
Ooh, girl.
Now, Divine.
My God.
Most people know Divine from John Waters films.
Yeah.
And from Hairspray.
Yeah.
Which are still John Waters. But most people know her from that. The first place I know that you saw her was Lust in the Dust.
Ooh,
not a movie for children.
No, absolutely not.
Great movie. I mean, it's not a great movie. It's probably a terrible movie, but I loved it.
It's silly, it's campy, it's trashy.
And Lainey Kazan is amazing in it. And she played... What I loved is that Divine plays, as she did in all of her movies, a woman.
Cisgender?
Not a drag queen.
Nope, just a cisgender woman.
She plays this big old woman who is traveling through the desert on a donkey.
A donkey of all things.
A very small donkey. And she's a very big woman.
A little bit.
And then she ends up with this, whatever. It's probably hard to find, but find it.
Find it. I literally just watched it, but I had to find some access code and purchase it from somewhere. It was a lot, but I just rewatched it. And even though it's not amazing, it's still it has like a cult following kind of amazing. It's so good. And Divine, honestly, growing up with that, I was like, I know those people. Like, right. I think I've met her before, but I mean, obviously hadn't, but as a kid, because I'd known queer people and drag queens, that I was like, I think that's my aunt. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's who that is right there.
I think I know her.
Exactly.
I know that bitch.
Exactly.
Yes, and Divine, of course, so I know that I had seen, I think maybe 1 or 2 John Waters films before I saw Lust in the Dust. Because they were all out, most of the ones he had done with her. Because that was one of her last films. But John Waters, he has this entire library of bizarre, disgusting, fantastic movies that you defy kind of explanation.
Well, and he's like known as like the Pope of Filth. So they're all like dirty and raunchy and weird. All of them
barely covers it. Pink Flamingos.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, because anybody you talk about the movie Pink Flamingos too, they'll go, isn't that the movie where Divine ate dog poop?
Yeah, and the answer is yes.
Yes, it is. And yes, it was real. And the story behind that is soup's disgusting because they thought somehow it would be less disgusting if all they fed this dog for a week was steak. So when it pooped it out, it wouldn't be so bad for her to eat it. Why wouldn't they just get
fake dog poop?
Fake dog poop.
Yeah, I don't get that.
No, but one, they probably didn't have the budget
for fake dog poop.
They made all of their movies on like a shoestring.
Yeah.
And but when I read her book, I Am Divine, I was like, you really ate dog poop?
That's gross, right?
That was one of those, I threw up a little bit when But that Female Trouble, oh my God. The whole Christmas scene at her family's when she knocks the Christmas tree down on her mother because she didn't get her cha-cha heels.
I hate Christmas. Yeah. These better be cha-cha heels.
Oh, Dawn, not today. Not on Christmas. I'm sorry, but it's hilarious. And everything about that movie is sick and twisted and wrong. And all of his movies are until you get kind of to the more modern day stuff where they're less twisted and they bring in more kind of family friendly-ish.
Cool. So what are you talking about?
Well, like Hairspray.
Hairspray. Sure. It's not as twisted. You're right. Not gross. It's about segregation.
It is about segregation. And I saw a thing not long ago where somebody was talking about how Hairspray was kind of this problematic, racist. I was like, wait, did we watch the same movie? Because the whole idea was that segregation, bad.
Yeah.
But then it turns out what they were talking about was the whole white savior complex that Tracy Turnblad, little white girl, well, not little white girl, big white girl,
thick white girl,
was going to change the world and whatever. Yeah. Well, as we have known and we have discussed, sometimes the voices that white people will listen to are white voices.
Yeah.
So, yes, I guess if that was your problem with it, but watch the entire movie and think about the time that was supposed to occur. Yeah. And one of the things I remember John Waters talking about was that was kind of his dream for that time in his life. Because there was a show in Baltimore that was like the Corny Collins show. Okay. But he changed the name to protect the innocent, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But it was never desegregated. He wanted it to be. That was his dream for this. And so he wrote that as his kind of wish list of how we wished Baltimore would have been in the 60s. Or even still, I don't know. Not been to Baltimore. I don't know how integrated it is. But if seeing John in person, as we did at Christmas time, it was interesting to hear him talk about his movies because obviously his take on it is different than our take as just people who watched it. But all of his newer movies, because it's kind of for me where his movies got a budget.
Yeah.
And you could tell like hired actors that we'd heard of. Started with Hairspray. And then from there, like Serial Mom.
Such a good movie, though.
Kathleen Turner is so brilliant. And I love the fact that he uses a lot of the same actors in each of his movies, if he can get them. Like Patty Hearst.
Right.
Come on. Before Serial Mom, the only thing people ever talked about Patty Hearst was she was that woman who was kidnapped.
Yeah.
And, rich white woman kidnapped by this extremist group and got some Stockholm Syndrome.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
And joined her captors.
Yep.
And then was released and blah, 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 blah. But for her to later, this heiress, to do John Waters films, I was like, okay, that's funny.
And she's like...
That's badass
she's
there.
Comedic. It's so good. Because even in the movie Crybaby, that's not John Waters' film, though. But it is?
Yeah.
It is, yes, Crybaby. When she plays Wanda's mom and she's the crossing guard, I'm just like, look left, look right, look left again. Good teenagers. Like, it kills me. She's so funny to me. But yeah, weird. And how you're right, though, he uses the same actors. Like, Mink Stoll was in most of his films.
Right. Yeah, I think I could be wrong. It happens. But I think she's in all of his films.
Okay.
But if you want to, I mean, really, if you're going to start a John Waters education, go back to the beginning.
Just start in
Watch the Multiple Maniacs and all of his crazy Eat Your Makeup.
Watch the grimy grime of all the grime.
Now, here's my only, and John, if you're listening, first of all, we have made it.
Hi, I love you.
Love John Waters.
Yeah.
he is, as
I
far as
think
I'm
you're my
concerned,
real dad.
one of the queer gods
Mm-hmm.
on Queer Mount Olympus. He should be up there with all those queer gods.
Yeah.
But most of his old movies have